The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Empire buzzed with what passed for laughter among 17 different species. The sound resembled a mixture of dying engines, squeaky toys, and that one weird noise your refrigerator makes at 3 a.m. High Commander Zixathor stood at the central podium, his 3 sets of arms gesturing dramatically at the holographic display of a rather unimpressive blue-green planet. His facial tentacles quivered with barely contained amusement as he addressed the council. And here, esteemed members of the Empire, we see the home of these humans. He paused for effect, using his middle right hand to make air quotes, a gesture he'd learned from intercepted Earth broadcasts and had been dying to use. A species so primitive they still think quantum entanglement is spooky action at a distance. More synthetic laughter echoed through the chamber. A Proxian delegate wheezed so hard they accidentally molted. According to our extensive research, Zixathor continued, pulling up a series of images, they spend approximately 33.7% of their time arguing about whether a circular food item called a hot dog qualifies as a sandwich. He flicked to the next slide. And another 42.8% debating the correct way to store their climate-controlled food boxes. Councillor Vexena, her crystalline form shimmering with skepticism, raised a geometric appendage. But, High Commander, our probes have detected some level of nuclear capability. Shouldn't we exercise at least basic caution? Zixathor's laugh sounded like a garbage disposal choking on silverware. Nuclear capability? My dear Councillor, they're still splitting atoms like cavemen. Meanwhile, we're out here casually juggling stars for fun. Yesterday, I used a quantum singularity to heat my morning beverage. The holographic display shifted to show Earth's military forces. Zixathor pointed at various vehicles with his upper left hand, while using his lower right hand to play with a stress relief fidget cube, a souvenir from their last conquest. Look at these adorable machines. They still use combustion engines. Combustion! I haven't seen anything this primitive since my great-great-grandmother's first anti-gravity scooter. He zoomed in on an aircraft carrier, and they put their flying machines on floating metal platforms. How quaint! The council members chittered and buzzed in agreement, except for one ancient mechanoid in the corner who was actually just running a defragmentation cycle. Here's my proposal, Zixathor declared, bringing up a detailed invasion plan that looked suspiciously like it had been drawn in the Galactic Empire's equivalent of MS Paint. We send in our 12th fleet, yes, just the 12th, we don't want to overdo it, it's like using a planet cracker to open a snack container. The plan animated across the screen, showing little cartoon spaceships descending upon Earth. Someone had added sound effects. Pew pew pew, Zixathor provided enthusiastically, before quickly composing himself with a dignified cough. Within 3 standard cycles, Earth will be nothing more than another footnote in our glorious empire's history. Their most valuable contribution to galactic culture will be their extensive collection of videos featuring small furry animals performing amusing actions. The council voted unanimously to approve the invasion, mostly because it was almost time for lunch, and the cafeteria was serving everyone's favorite quantum-shifted gravity loaves with uncertainty spread. As the chamber emptied, Councillor Vexena approached Zixathor. You're absolutely certain about this? The humans have no surprises waiting? Zixathor's facial tentacles formed what he believed was a reassuring smile, but actually looked more like a sea creature having an existential crisis. My dear Councillor, what could possibly go wrong? They still think faster-than-light travel is impossible. Just last week, they were excited about sending a tiny robot to their own moon. Again. He gathered his data tablets with his various arms. Trust me, this will be the easiest conquest since we took over that planet of philosophically confused vegetables. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go practice my victory speech. I'm thinking of opening with a joke about their flat Earth believers. As Zixathor strode out of the chamber, none of the council members noticed the small warning light blinking on the sensor panel, the one indicating that perhaps, just perhaps, their assessment of human technological capabilities might have been ever so slightly outdated. But surely that couldn't be important, right? The 12th fleet of the Galactic Empire dropped out of hyperspace with all the subtlety of a disco party in a library. 500 ships arranged in what Commander Zixathor had insisted was an intimidating attack formation, but actually looked more like a connect-the-dots puzzle gone wrong. Begin the invasion, Zixthor announced from his flagship's command throne, which he'd recently upgraded with cup holders for all 6 of his arms. Launch the first wave of... Wait, what's that blinking thing? The blinking thing turned out to be an incoming transmission from Earth on their secure channel. Their supposedly unbreakable, quantum-encrypted, wouldn't share it with your own genetic donor secure channel. A human face appeared on the main screen. Admiral Chen sat in what appeared to be a command center, looking about as concerned as someone trying to decide what to have for lunch. "This is Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force," she announced, casually sipping from a coffee mug that read, "Galaxy's okayest Admiral. I see you've brought the 12th Fleet. Interesting choice. I would have at least sent the 8th, you know, the one with actual warships instead of these." She squinted at her tablet. Converted luxury space yachts. Zixthor's facial tentacles tied themselves into a knot. "How dare you? This is an invasion. You're supposed to be panicking. Where are the screaming masses, the surrendering world leaders, the trending hashtags about alien overlords?" "About that," Chen replied, setting down her mug. "Computer, initiate defense protocol. Are you sure about that, buddy?" Suddenly, the space around the Empire's fleet lit up like a supernova having a party. Hidden defense platforms decloaked, their weapons already charged. Hundreds of Earthships emerged from what had appeared to be asteroids, but were actually very convincing, space-age papier-mâché. "Oh, and those nuclear weapons you were so amused by," Chen added. "Turns out they make excellent distractions, kind of like those fake plastic cakes in restaurant windows, you know?" The first wave of Empire ships exploded in spectacular fashion, as quantum torpedoes technology they'd thought was at least 3 centuries beyond human capability tore through their shields like tissue paper. "This is impossible," Zixthor screeched, spilling 6 different beverages as he leaped from his command throne. "You're supposed to be primitive. You still have reality TV shows." "Yeah, we keep those around for entertainment. Speaking of entertainment." Chen pressed a button and suddenly every screen on every Empire ship began playing Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up." "What is this psychological warfare?" Zixthor demanded, his troops already humming along despite themselves. The battle, if you could call it that, lasted approximately 17 minutes. 15 of those minutes were spent with Empire crews trying to figure out how to turn off the Rickroll, and the other 2 involved actual combat. As the surviving Empire ships attempted to retreat, they discovered their hyperdrives had been hacked. Each ship's navigation system now only offered 2 destinations, back to Earth for surrender, or directly into the nearest sun. "Oh, and High Commander," Chen called out, still sipping her coffee. "Those cat videos you were making fun of, they're not just entertainment. They're actually encoded military communications. That video of a kitten playing piano, complete schematics for our quantum drive systems, the one with the puppy chasing its tail, that's actually our fleet deployment strategies." Zixthor stared at the screen, all 6 of his hands raised in surrender, one still clutching his favorite fidget cube. But our intelligence reports were exactly what we wanted you to see," Chen finished. "By the way, that thing you're holding, we reversed engineered it last week, made some improvements too. Try pressing the left side 3 times. Zixthor did. The fidget cube started playing Never Gonna Give You Up. "Welcome to Earth, Commander," Chen smiled, raising her coffee mug in a mock toast. "Where we've mastered the art of looking harmless while being anything but. Now, about those surrender terms. Would you prefer to discuss them over hot dogs or sandwiches? We're still debating which is which." As Zixthor's flagship was towed toward Earth by tractor beams he hadn't even seen coming, he made a mental note. Next time, maybe do more research than just watching viral videos and social media feeds. Also, possibly consider a career change. He heard those philosophically confused vegetables were hiring. The emergency council meeting of the Galactic Empire resembled a circus, having an existential crisis. Representatives from 17 species crammed into the chamber, all trying to speak at once, creating a cacophony that sounded like a malfunctioning universal translator having a breakdown. "Order! Order!" Supreme Chancellor Clagbath pounded his ceremonial gravity hammer, accidentally increasing the room's gravity to triple strength. Several floating delegates crashed to the floor. "Will someone please explain," he wheezed, adjusting his ceremonial robes that now weighed as much as a small moon, How our mighty 12th Fleet got defeated by a species that still argues about whether their round food items are sandwiches. High Commander Zixthor, recently returned from his spectacular defeat, stood at the podium. All 6 of his arms were wrapped around various stress relief devices, including his infamous fidget cube, which still hadn't stopped playing Earth music. Chancellor, esteemed Council, there's been a slight miscalculation, he managed, his facial tentacles drooping. It appears the humans were practicing something they call strategic incompetence. He activated a holographic display showing various Earth technologies. Those reality shows about housewives throwing drinks at each other, cover for quantum physics experiments, their obsession with cryptocurrency, actually a massive distributed computing network for military AI, and those influencers doing dance challenges. They're all coded military training exercises. Councillor Vexina's crystalline form vibrated with barely contained panic. But what about their primitive space program? All those rockets that barely reached their own moon? Decoys, Zixthor admitted, slumping. While we were laughing at their SpaceX launches, they were building quantum fold drives in underground bases. One of their military commanders told me they kept Pluto classified as a planet just to hide a massive fleet base behind it. The council erupted again. Someone in the back started stress molting. We've attempted diplomatic contact, reported Ambassador Yixi, their gelatinous form quivering with embarrassment. It's not going well. The ambassador pulled up a recording of their first diplomatic exchange with Earth's representatives. And so, recorded Yixi was saying, we demand your immediate surrender and integration into our glorious empire. Admiral Chen's response consisted entirely of Earth memes. The first was something about the Council's demands being bold of you to assume, followed by what appeared to be an ancient image of a grumpy feline saying no. When we threatened them with our planet cracker weapons, she continued, they sent back something called a you-know reverse card and activated defenses we didn't even know they had. A junior analyst rushed into the chamber waving a datapad frantically. New intelligence, Your Excellencies. We've decoded more of their cat videos. That viral clip of a kitten learning to swim. It's the schematics for a device that can turn stars into weapons. Chancellor Clagbath's ceremonial headpiece drooped. How? How did we miss this? Our intelligence network spans galaxies. Well, Zixthor coughed, we may have outsourced most of our human intelligence gathering to some unpaid interns who just scrolled through something called TikTok all day. The council chamber fell silent except for the continuing low melody of Never Gonna Give You Up from Zixthor's fidget cube. It gets worse, the junior analyst added. Remember how we thought their internet was just for sharing pictures of food and arguing with strangers? Turns out that's just the surface level. They have something called Deep Web, where they... Out with it, demanded Clagbath. They've been running simulations of our invasion for years. Those video games we thought were entertainment, training programs, something called Space Invaders from centuries ago was actually a primitive defense protocol. Councillor Vexina's crystalline form paled to nearly transparent. What are our options? Ambassador Wixi wobbled nervously. We tried to negotiate peace terms. They sent back a proposal, written entirely in something called emojis. Our best cryptographers are still trying to decode whether the smiling pile of waste matter is a threat or a compliment. And the humans? Chancellor Clagbath asked, dreading the answer. They've begun expanding, Zixthor reported miserably. Remember that primitive space station they had? Turns out it was just a prop. Their real space stations are everywhere, cloaked. And they've started sending messages to our colonies, something about free prime delivery and streaming services. 3 systems have already defected. The council sat in stunned silence as the implications sank in. They hadn't just kicked a hornet's nest, they'd kicked a hornet's nest that had been pretending to be a paper bag while secretly building superweapons. Perhaps, Chancellor Clagbath suggested weakly, we should send them a formal apology, written in their preferred format. The junior analyst nodded and began composing. Dear humans, our bad, no war, please don't hurt us. As the message was sent, the council could only hope that somewhere in humanity's vast collection of reaction gifts, there was one that meant, we accept your surrender, you absolute goofballs. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the EDF Unexpected Consequence, watching the holographic display of Operation Well, you asked for it. Behind her, the crew worked with practiced efficiency. their movements choreographed like a well-rehearsed dance routine if dance routines involved systematically dismantling an alien empire. Launch the first wave of Trojan horse satellites, she ordered, sipping from her new coffee mug that read, "I invaded an empire and all I got was this lousy mug." Across the galaxy, seemingly harmless Earth communication satellites suddenly transformed. What the Empire had dismissed as primitive broadcasting equipment turned out to be heavily armed stealth platforms. Each one had been quietly positioned over the past century, disguised as failed space launches or lost probes. "Would you look at that," Chen mused, watching the Empire's outer defense grid collapse. "All those years they spent laughing at our failed satellite launches. Mission control acting disappointed every time one accidentally went off course, and my personal favorite, the probe we convinced them was just spinning wildly through space playing David Bowie songs." The probe in question, now designated Strike Platform Alpha, had just disabled the Empire's primary command and control center, while still broadcasting Space Oddity. On the tactical display, thousands of Earth ships emerged from their hiding spots. Some decloaked from behind planets, others transformed from what appeared to be space debris, and a particularly sneaky squadron had been masquerading as a traveling space circus. "Ma'am," reported Lieutenant Rodriguez, trying not to laugh, "the Empire's attempting to engage their quantum defense shields. Should we tell them we replaced all their shield generators with karaoke machines last month?" "Let them figure it out themselves," Chen replied. 3, 2, 1. Across the Empire's territory, military installations found their shield generators belting out Sweet Caroline instead of generating protection fields. Bah, bah, bah! Earth's true military technology was finally revealed in all its glory. Quantum-phase torpedoes that could bypass conventional defenses by shifting partially into another dimension. Ships equipped with probability drives that didn't so much fly through space as convince space they'd already arrived. Stealth systems so advanced they didn't just hide ships, they made enemy gunners forget they'd even wanted to shoot in that direction. The look on their faces when they realized what those primitive SpaceX launches were really covering up, Chen chuckled. Priceless. Speaking of which, deploy the Musk maneuver. A fleet of what appeared to be Tesla Roadsters appeared in space, each one carrying a payload of highly advanced weapons. The Empire's sensors, programmed to ignore what they considered obsolete human technology, didn't even register them until it was too late. "Admiral," called out Commander Wu, "the Empire's trying to adapt. They're attempting to copy our quantum fold technology. Are they checking the schematics we left in those cat videos?" "Yes, ma'am." "The fake ones we mixed with actual cat videos?" "Yes, ma'am." "The ones that, when assembled, create a device that turns everything within 10 feet into novelty rubber chickens?" "Yes, ma'am. Their flagship just squawked." The tactical display showed chaos spreading through Empire space. Earth's guerrilla tactics were paying off in ways that would have military strategists scratching their heads for centuries. A squadron of Earth ships disguised as a rogue comet snuck behind enemy lines by convincing Empire sensors they were just a very organized group of ice chunks having an existential crisis. Another team had hidden an entire battlecruiser in plain sight by painting "If you can read this, you're hallucinating" on the hull in letters visible only to Empire scanning technology. "Deploy the social media division," Chen commanded. Immediately, Empire communication channels were flooded with Earth memes. Their tactical network started receiving cat videos, real ones this time, just to confuse them. Their encoded transmissions were interrupted by unskippable ads about extended warranty coverage for their starships. Status report on Operation Wikipedia Edit. Lieutenant Rodriguez checked his console. "Complete success, Admiral. We've convinced their historical databases that humans invented faster-than-light travel before we discovered fire. Their historians are having nervous breakdowns." The Empire's defenses continued to crumble. Their most advanced warships were being systematically hunted down by Earth vessels that, according to their sensors, had the technological signature of a toaster. Their supposedly unhackable quantum computers were being riddled with pop-up ads for hot singles in their spatial vicinity. "Ma'am," reported Commander Wu, "the Empire just tried to activate their doomsday weapon. Did they check their user manual first?" "The one we secretly replaced with instructions for building Swedish furniture." "Exactly." A distant explosion lit up the tactical display, followed by the appearance of what appeared to be a partially assembled bookshelf floating in space. Admiral Chen finished her coffee and stood up. Send word to all Earth forces. Execute Operation Rolling Rick. Let's finish this with style. Across Empire space, every screen, hologram, and communication device began playing Never Gonna Give You Up. But this time, it wasn't just psychological warfare. The sound waves were carrying encoded commands that turned their own defense systems against them. And to think, Chen mused, watching the Empire's mighty fleets either surrender or accidentally transform themselves into various pieces of IKEA furniture. They really believed we were just a planet of social media addicts who couldn't agree on whether a hot dog was a sandwich. She paused, considering. Though, to be fair, that is still an ongoing debate. The Grand Council chamber, once a symbol of the Empire's might, now resembled a corporate office during tax season. Representatives from various species huddled around quantum communicators, desperately trying to call in favors from allied civilizations. What do you mean you're busy? Supreme Chancellor Clagbath shouted at a hologram of the Proxian hive mind. We've been allies for 12,000 years. The Proxian representative buzzed apologetically. Sorry, but we've just signed up for something called Netflix. Have you seen this Stranger Things? We're halfway through season 2 and... The transmission mysteriously cut off. Across the room, Ambassador Yixi's gelatinous form had nearly liquefied from stress. The Mechanoid Collective just responded to our distress call with something called a loading screen. It's been spinning for 6 hours. The quantum consciousness of Beetlejuice sent back a response, called out a junior diplomat excitedly. His tentacles drooped as he read it. New com, who dis? High Commander Zixathor, recently demoted to medium commander, then to slightly above average commander, and finally to Bob from accounting, reviewed their latest losses on a holographic display. His fidget cube, still stuck on Earth music, had now switched to Highway to Hell. Perhaps, he suggested weakly, we could offer them something in trade. Our advanced technology. Admiral Chen's face appeared on every screen in the chamber. You mean the technology we reverse-engineered from your fidget cube last week? By the way, we've made some improvements. Try pressing the top button. Zixathor did. The cube transformed into a small robot that began doing the Macarena. The council erupted into chaos. Several members had already begun drafting their resignations, mostly in the form of interpretive dance. Others were frantically deleting their browser histories, especially their searches for how to conquer primitive species and easy invasion plans for dummies. Our military situation is problematic, reported General Kex, whose impressive title now commanded approximately 3 ships and a space Winnebago. We've lost contact with the Gamma sector. The humans took it, gasped Councillor Vexener. Worse, they introduced something called social media influencers. The entire sector's population is now too busy trying to become space famous to fight. Chancellor Clagbath slumped in his gravity throne, which chose that moment to malfunction and drop him 3 feet. What about our secret weapon stockpiles? The humans found them all, Bob from accounting, formerly Zixathor, reported. They said our hiding spots were, and I quote, more obvious than a cat hiding under a paper bag. They've replaced all our quantum torpedoes with something called pool noodles. The tactical display showed the Empire's remaining territory shrinking faster than a politician's promises after Election Day. Their mighty space fortresses were being systematically dismantled by Earth ships that, according to their sensors, had all been designated as your mom. We still have the Omega Protocol, announced General Kex desperately. Our last resort battle station disguised as a small moon. About that, said Admiral Chen, who somehow still had access to all their communications. Check your Disney Plus subscription. You might find something familiar in a movie called Star Wars. The Council watched in horror as their supposedly secret battle station's blueprints played out in what humans called a documentary from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. At least we still have our secure backup facility on, began Councillor Vexner. Pluto? Chen interrupted. Yeah, we've converted that into a mini golf course. Your security forces are welcome to join the tournament next weekend. First prize is a slightly used quantum empire. The Empire's attempts at a final stand were going about as well as trying to herd cats through a quantum probability field. Their remaining ships had formed a defensive line that, when viewed from above, accidentally spelled out, "We surrender," in cosmic coordinates. Maybe we could try something unexpected, suggested a junior strategist. Something the humans wouldn't anticipate. Like what? Snapped Chancellor Clagbath. Our last surprise attack was countered before we launched it. Apparently, we telegraphed our moves through our choice of playlist on Space Spotify. The Empire's finest minds gathered for one last desperate planning session. They emerged 6 hours later with what they believed was a foolproof strategy, only to find Admiral Chen had already posted a detailed critique of their plan on Space Reddit, complete with helpful suggestions for improvement and several relevant memes. Status report, demanded Chancellor Clagbath, though at this point he was mostly asking out of habit. We've lost the Carina sector to something called Prime Day deals, reported General Kex. The Orion Spur has filed for independence after discovering human cat videos. And the Sagittarius Arm, well, what? They've started their own TikTok channel. It's actually quite popular. As the Empire's territory continued to shrink, their remaining forces began exhibiting concerning behaviors. Entire fleets were surrendering after being promised free Wi-Fi. Military governors were requesting transfers to Earth's remote work program. Someone had even started a change.org petition to officially rename the Empire to that one civilization that thought they could take Earth. LOL. Chancellor Clagbath stared out at the stars, watching as another sector of space surrendered to humanity's inexorable advance. Perhaps, he mused, we should have done more research than watching their reality TV shows. Actually, said Admiral Chen, who had apparently been ordering takeout for her crew through the Empire's secure quantum channels, those were pretty accurate. We're exactly that chaotic. You just assumed chaos meant weakness. The council chamber fell silent except for the soft sound of Bob from accounting's fidget cube, which had now started playing the final countdown. The last remnants of the once mighty Galactic Empire huddled around a single star system. Their remaining fleet, a hodgepodge of ships ranging from mighty battlecruisers to someone's partially converted space RV, formed what they hoped was an intimidating defensive formation, but actually looked more like a connect-the-dots puzzle of desperation. Chancellor Clagbath stood on his flagship's bridge, which had been hastily renamed from Imperial Might to Please Don't Shoot in both English and emoji. Beside him, Bob from accounting, formerly the mighty Zixthor, clutched his ever-present fidget cube, which had begun playing a mashup of The Final Countdown and My Heart Will Go On. Status of our final defense plan? Clagbath asked, trying to sound confident, despite his ceremonial robes being wrinkled from stress molting. Well, Bob consulted his datapad. Operation Last Hope has been renamed Operation Last Oops after humans posted a detailed critique of it on Space LinkedIn. They gave us some very constructive feedback, though. The tactical display lit up as Earth's fleet arrived. Their ships emerged from quantum space in a formation that, when viewed from above, spelled out LOL. Admiral Chen's flagship, now sporting a bumper sticker that read, "My other ship is your mum," led the charge. "Enemy vessels approaching," called out a sensor operator. They're what?" demanded Clagbath. "They're playing music on all frequencies, something called Space Jam." The Empire's last-ditch effort began with all the grace of a drunk Proxian trying to dance the Macarena. Their ships launched what they believed was a surprise attack, only to discover the humans had already written a detailed historical analysis of it 3 days ago. "Launch the quantum torpedoes," ordered Clagbath. "Sir, they've all been replaced with party streamers. The plasma cannons, then. Now shooting confetti, sir. The death rays, currently playing disco music." Admiral Chen's voice came over their comm system. "You know, you really should have read the terms and conditions when you downloaded that antivirus update last week." The battle, if you could call it that, resembled less of a final stand and more of an impromptu space parade. Earthships danced through the Empire's formations with moves that violated several laws of physics, and at least one local noise ordinance. A squadron of Empire ships attempted to execute their famous Spiral of Doom maneuver. They managed to create a spiral, but instead of doom, it just looked mildly inconvenienced. "Deploy the secret weapon," Clagbath commanded in desperation. "You mean the one we built using plans hidden in cat videos?" Bob asked. Well... The massive superweapon emerged from hyperspace, immediately began making meowing sounds, and started chasing a quantum laser pointer. Admiral Chen's voice returned, sounding like she was trying not to laugh. "You really should have checked which cat videos were real and which ones were decoys, though I have to admit, a giant mechanical space cat is pretty amusing." The Empire's formations crumbled faster than a cookie in a black hole. Ships were surrendering in increasingly creative ways. One captain simply posted GG on all frequencies before shutting down his engines. "Sir," reported the sensor operator, "the humans are deploying something called a reverse card at a quantum level." All across the battlefield, Empire ships found their weapons turning around and giving them stern looks. Defensive shields started protecting the wrong sides of ships. The flagship's navigation system rerouted their retreat path directly into what appeared to be an intergalactic drive-through restaurant. Chancellor Clagbath slumped in his command chair. "Open a channel to Admiral Chen. Let's discuss terms." Chen appeared on screen, sipping from a coffee mug that now read, "I broke an empire before breakfast." "Terms are simple," she said. "First, admit that a hot dog is technically a sandwich." The council members present gasped in horror. "Never," declared Clagbath, finding one last shred of dignity. "We may surrender our empire, but we will not surrender our culinary classifications." "Worth a shot," Chen shrugged. "Okay, real terms. You guys stick to your current territory, which is basically that one star and the weird gas station planet orbiting it. We'll even throw in a Netflix subscription." "And?" Clagbath asked suspiciously. "And you have to attend mandatory meme education classes. Your understanding of Earth culture is frankly embarrassing." The final surrender document was signed digitally, notarized through Space DocuSign, and posted on Space Instagram with the hashtag #EmpireOverParty. As the Empire's leaders prepared to return to their new, significantly cozier borders, Admiral Chen had one last message. "Oh, and Bob," she called out. The former High Commander looked up. "Yes? You can keep the fidget cube. We upgraded it. Try the Konami code." Bob pressed up, down, left, right, BA on his fidget cube. It transformed into a small hologram of Rick Astley. "We had to," Chen grinned, "one last time for old time's sake." And so ended the great invasion of Earth, recorded in history books as "that time an empire learned about memes the hard way." The Empire's remaining citizens quickly became addicted to Earth entertainment. Their military converted into a surprisingly successful streaming service, and Chancellor Clagbath went on to become a moderately successful space YouTuber. As for humanity, they went right back to arguing about hot dogs and sandwiches, secure in the knowledge that sometimes the best defense is making everyone think you're completely chaotic while being extremely competent. Though they did keep the giant mechanical space cat, it makes an excellent tourist attraction.